So music is not something which is in isolation. No? It's very much connected to your existence, your social life, your friends, your networks, your family. So all that becomes your music. If I'm singing, then I bloody well enjoy it. Otherwise, I shouldn't do it. ख्याल का मतलब ही है कि अपने ख्यालों में आप रहिए, कुछ बनाइए उसका. Artists should really think about their physical fitness. In India, tradition मतलब उसको कहीं उठा के रख देना है और उसकी पूजा करनी है. We have this tendency. शादियों में भी ये होता था कि सबसे पहले अपने बेटे को सिखाते थे. अच्छा बेटा नहीं है तो फिर दामाद को सिखाते थे. औरतों को कभी नहीं सिखाया जाता था. Because if you're being creative, then you have to do something which is your own, right?
Welcome, Vidya. So, you and me have met so many times across the past few years,
right.
But this is the first time we'll be having like a conversation.
Correct,
so, you're not originally a Delhiite, na? What brought you to Delhi?
So, I'm one of those peculiar cases of being a Delhiite, but I am a South Indian. So, a bit of Chennai, but mostly Delhi, actually. And I say peculiar because now you see many second, third generation kind of people. But at that time, we were pretty we had our own little bubble, in the 80s and the 90s when one was, 80s particularly. Yeah.
And what brought you to Delhi? Studies or?
My father's, my father was working with the government. So, yeah, like I said, been here forever.
And how did your musical journey begin? And I'm not referring to the Wikipedia page because that says you started at about 12. Is that correct?
So, the thing is that, with the Wikipedia thing, it's kind of like, it becomes sort of etched in stone. It's one of those things. But, my musical journey, I would say, is a little different from my musical training because it began pretty much from the day I was born. And I have an older sister who was a fair bit older to me in the sense that, even when I was very young, she was already learning. And so there was this very, very musical atmosphere at home. Plus, father had a very eclectic taste. तो वो कभी कर्नाटिक तो सुनते ही थे हम लोग, बट वो फिर मेहदी हसन साहब को भी सुनते थे और फिर भीमसेन जोशी का भी होता था. फिर ही वाज अ बिग फैन ऑफ तलत महमूद साहब. तो एंड देन ऑल्सो ऑफ कोर्स हिज शेयर ऑफ व्हाटएवर द बीटल्स एटसेट्रा ऑल्सो यूज्ड टू प्ले. तो देयर वाज दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. कान में कुछ ना कुछ पड़ता रहता था. सो द जर्नी आई थिंक has a lot to do with how I absorb those sounds as well. Yes.
But I believe there was some initial resistance to learning music.
So, Yasmin, what happens is that if you're a Madrasi, which is what I technically am, so Gana ya nachna, this is like almost mandatory. It's like school jana aur ye bhi karna.
Thank God, actually.
Well, in retrospect, for sure. But at that time when you're young, you're like, and I had...
This is an extra thing to do, na? Like,
and I had a really persistent music teacher, there was a time when there was a category of people called music teachers who were very sincere and committed about their, it was like a job for a lot of them, तो हमारे यहाँ भी वो 4 बजे उन्हें 3:59 पे पहुंच जाते थे. और 4 तो फिर he would come and my mother, would sort of engage him in some banter. वो बेचारे कहीं से आते थे, ऑल इंडिया रेडियो में कुछ करते थे, तो she would make him a small snack. This was like a routine, and then I would be sort of waiting in the room looking very bored and angry that why am I being, put through this? And so that happened for many years to a point where I said that, I need to take a break. And really figure if this is my calling or if I've just been coerced into it. You also get into a rebel phase. When
No, I completely understand because, like with me, Urdu was being taught at home.
Right.
And I resented it so much. I was like, ek to school ka homework bhi karo, then we were also learning Sanskrit, and I felt so bad for myself. I was like, how can they do this to me? Like, I have to learn. And now I really regret it. I was like, I wish I'd given it more time and effort, but it was, it was something which was there. You have to do it. And I completely, I gave it up. And now I kind of feel like, you listen to so many people and talking beautifully, and I was like, I wish I'd learned more. of it.
Although I have to say that when I came back to it after taking a break and for like some 3-4 years, that's when I made the switch to Hindustani.
Yeah, you were learning
music.
Carnatic music and then you switched to...
yeah.
And
I think it was also being a North Indian, you know, I mean, you are also sort of in a strange way trying to root yourself into a space that is your own. And although my upbringing was very, very Tamil, you know, but then I felt very stretched. I felt very pulled towards this side as well. And I was lucky to have met Shubha Mudgalji, and, you know, I went to her very nervous, not knowing what she'll say. And she was just so cool. She said, kal aa jana. You know, she said it so matter-of-factly, almost collapsed. I couldn't believe my luck, yeah. And then, there was no looking back.
And you quit your job then to do this? You were in a 9-to-5 job, right?
You know, so I never did a very rigorous kind of, I was in the development sector for some years. So I did work with a couple of international not-for-profits. And then I was consulting for a very long time for several organizations like the, you know, UNDP, UN for Women, and so on and so forth. So I was always busy, but at, you know, at one point when I hit 30, my husband and I just sat him down and I said, listen, I can't do this. I can't sing and I can't sort of. So then he said, okay, karna kya hai? What is your calling? What do you want to do? I said, I actually want to sing, but I know there'll be no money in that. So I think he said something to me which has really stayed with me, and I think that was very special. He said, listen, if you want to do it, just do it, because you don't want to live a life of regrets, you know. Aisa kya hai, dekh lenge, you know. And I'm so grateful to him that he was so supportive of this, what seemed like this big risk.
True. And tell me, did your work in the development and social space, has that contributed in any way you feel to your music?
So, you know, Yasmin, I feel that any experience in life has its space. You know, it offers something. It offers something where you learn, whether it is something that you learn you should not do or something that is deeply impactful. Either way, it stays with you. And I feel that my work in the development sector, what it really taught me was the importance to respect people. You know, when you work with people, you want to understand them. You don't want to judge them. And if you judge them, you realize you've made a mistake. And I think I carry that learning to my audiences as well. You know, when I work, when I sing particularly for new audiences, when I'm trying to sort of sing something which is very intense to a young audience, for example, I think that experience stayed with me and has stayed with me, you know, in the sense that
it makes you more empathetic to your audience.
I think so. I think that's the word I was looking for. Thanks. Yes, absolutely.
So, you know, you mentioned you trained with Shubha Mudgalji. You also trained with Shanti Hiranandji. And what was the relationship with them? How did they influence your music?
So,
how long were you with both?
With Shubhaji, almost 10 years. Yeah. And they're both very different people, actually. So the experiences were also very layered and interesting. With Shubhaji, I think what she really stressed on, which is, I think, important for any student of music, is to, you know, create your own musicality. You know, कि आपकी आवाज एक तरह की है, या फिर आपका रुझान किसी प्रकार के गाने की तरफ है. You know, you're drawn to say Nirgun या Kabir, or you like to sing a ghazal, or you want to just, you know, immerse yourself in a khayal, in a rag that you like. So she would often say that, yes, I'm teaching you and you're repeating, but you also have to figure out what is it that you are bringing to the table with regards to your music. And I think that's a very important thing in the creative space. Because if you're being creative, then you have to do something which is your own, right? मतलब सिर्फ
उसको to be original.
रट्टा मार के गाने का कोई इतना वो नहीं है, especially if you're doing something like the ख्याल, you know. ख्याल का मतलब ही है कि अपनी ख्यालों में आप रहिए, कुछ बनाइए उसका. And then Shanti Hiranand was again a very, very interesting experience because of her own lineage. Begum Akhtar se सीखी वो इतने साल. For decades she was with Begum Akhtar. And her experiences of being with Ammi and how that she brought that into her music So music is not something which is in isolation. No? It's very much connected to your existence, your social life, your friends, your networks, your family. So all that becomes your music. And through both my gurus, that is something that I feel that I have imbibed.
You've often, you mentioned Talim a lot in your interviews also.
Yes.
What, also Riyaz, how important, how much importance do you give that?
They are both the pillars of मतलब किसी भी सिंगर के लिए, किसी भी आर्टिस्ट के लिए ये दोनों जो है पहलू हैं बहुत ही अहम हैं, बहुत ज़रूरी हैं, और इसके बगैर आप अपना कुछ कर नहीं सकते। तो तालीम भी बहुत ज़रूरी है क्योंकि उसमें यू आर लर्निंग द ग्रामर ऑफ योर म्यूज़िक, यू आर लर्निंग द रूल्स विच बाइंड योर म्यूज़िक, स्पेशली इफ यू आर इन द ट्रेडिशनल स्पेस, then you are bound by certain frameworks. So Talim teaches you that. And the Riyaz is to internalize the Talim, but to also transition. जितना आप रियाज करोगे उतना आप ट्रांजिशन करते हो into making it your own. तो ये दोनों चीजें they are very hand in glove, and they are very, very crucial to any artist's presentation.
How much time do you give to Riyaz now?
So I look at my music a little holistically. एक तो होता है कि आप 2-3 घंटे बैठ के गाइए, वो तो है ही, वो तो करना ही है। पर उसके अलावा thanks to my teachers, I feel very interested in reading up lyrics, for example. अलग अलग किस्म की पोएट्री है, या फिर कुछ कंपोज कर रहे हैं, या you're reading something about an artist, किसी की social history के बारे में आप पढ़ रहे हो.
You take all that.
I try to bring all that into. That really excites me. And I am also a firm believer. I think we've discussed this before also. And I'm a firm believer that artists should really think about their physical fitness. मुझे बहुत लगता है कि हम लोग, क्योंकि हम देखो बैठते हैं, बैठे रहते हैं, आंखें बंद करके गाते रहते हैं, तो उसमें you don't particularly care about your your physical health, and one other thing which I feel that we really miss out on, एक और चीज की तालीम हमें चाहिए होती है जो हमें नहीं मिलती है, वो है how do you manage your work, क्योंकि क्या होता है कि आप इतना उसमें घुसे हुए होते हैं कि किसी ऑर्गेनाइजर से बात करना, या फिर नेगोशिएट करना, या फिर टू अंडरस्टैंड कि भैया ये आपके फाइनेंसेस हैं तो आप उसको कैसे, ये जो बिल्कुल प्रैक्टिकल लेसन्स होते हैं,
there is no training, and I think
zero.
Especially, I don't know, like I kind of feel as much as we talk about women in the workspace and this thing, I think that really and the very fact that you are also dealing with a multitude of responsibilities.
Correct.
We however much we say and however much supportive you have, the onus, I think, does eventually land on the.
True.
But tell me, we're talking of the Guru Shishya relationship and how important to go through the process of that. I don't know, do you feel that now people are kind of in a hurry to transcend that phase and just start off, like I get calls from people all over that if you're organizing a musical show to kind of give them a platform.
Right.
While I appreciate the talent and you can be completely a maverick, and I feel they're not giving that space to the learning part of it, and immediately want to get onto a stage very, very quickly.
See, I mean, you can't even hold it against people anymore, because one of the things a very celebrated musicologist had said, and it stayed with me, is that music is very closely, very intrinsically linked to the world in which you live, to the society in which you live. तो आप सारा टाइम वही देख रहे हैं. Everything comes to you in a capsule now, There's like, it's either a reel or it's some reality kind of a space, or there are people who are doing reversions on YouTube. So there is a sense of restlessness in that space in which you're consuming music. So for a lot of young people, therefore, for them to understand the need for ठहराव is very difficult.
Yeah.
Like कि भाई आपको कुछ घंटे जो है बैठ के एक ही चीज को दोहराना भी है और उसको घिसते रहना है. घिसने का जो एक होता है ना, तो चटनी तभी अच्छी बनती है. इट्स लाइक दैट. तो आप हर चीज को उसमें डाल के सिर्फ एक मिक्सी में डाल देंगे तो उसका इफेक्ट बहुत अलग होता है एज अपोज टू सील बट्टे. इट्स दैट काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग. तो ये उनकी भी एक कंपल्शन हो जाती है. दे ओनली सी इट लाइक दिस. एंड who has the time to sit and mull over one rag for so many months? And but for those who cut into that, they discover a different world, and it gives just so much more joy. And if that foundation is in place, then you can freak out.
Then you can experiment. Which which in your case, I've personally heard you sing across various stages and platforms, and I've heard you perform bhajans, Sufi, Bhakti, popular culture. What makes you explore these diverse genres?
I think I'm just a greedy person. जो भी मिल रहा है. But I think what deeply connects me is the word. जो whatever the lyric is, जैसे for example आप गजल भी ले लीजिए या भजन भी ले लीजिए. If you enjoy the what you're singing, तो जैसे अब आप कोई मीरा का भजन गा रहे हैं तो उसमें आप कुछ ऐसी चीज गा रहे हैं कि जो आपके दिल को छू रही है, like which is in an abstract space, which again excites me. The whole idea of metaphor as opposed to say एरी में तो प्रेम दीवानी excites me less than say कि धारण सरीखा पहनू घाघरा. So that has a different level of abstraction. So something which is more literal excites me less than something which is a little deeper. So I think that potential exists in the ghazal as well as, say for example in the Nirgun space. Jese Kumarji, Pandit Kumar Gandharv, whose centenary it is, his music really excites me. Hirana samajh booj ban charana. So for someone who doesn't understand the relevance of, or उड़ जाएगा हंस अकेला जगदर्शन का मेला, हंस क्या है, हिरन क्या है, उसका क्या relevance है हमारी लाइफ में. So things like that. So there's also sort of like a philosophical, or if Ghalib says, क़ैद हयात और बंदे गम असल में दोनों एक हैं, मौत से पहले आदमी गम से निजात पाए न क्यों. So that is so philosophical. It's almost like what Adi Shankara said. So there are many synergies also which excites me again.
So it can't be easy but to captivate audiences across various genres. Now, what is your secret? Is that where the empathy we were talking about comes in, that you can you understand?
Should I reveal my secret? I'm wondering.
Because I mean, I've like I said, I've personally heard you sing across various stages, and some of which we work together and we've created stages together. So
it's always been fantastic to do it with someone who is also sort of so creatively inclined. So it's always been fun doing stuff with you. I think of course, the empathy factor is very much there, but that apart, I feel like I have the privilege of articulation. I say that in a very considered, deliberate way, because zyadatar jo people who have learnt music or who come from traditional musical families, unfortunately, don't always have the privilege of solid formal education, and that doesn't mean that they are less intelligent people or they are less talented. They're immensely talented, but perhaps they don't have that particular skill, which the fact that I'm interested in history, the fact that I'm interested in, the fact that I've worked with people. So I want to make my music accessible. So if I sing something, I talk about it. I actually talk to my audiences.
Yeah,
when
I've heard you engage. But I also feel, you're very much in tune with the kind of audience that is sitting across. And you kind of are able to, gauge what the audience is like and what they want and kind of steer the music Even
yeah, I mean, I think that's my responsibility, really. If I'm going to sing for a bunch of young college students, which happens a lot, then I also sort of tease them with, okay, I know you love Bollywood music, but why do you think this is more fun? Or, what is it that, or if something bothers me, like, there was a song which they just picked up a phrase from a qawwali. And I sang the qawwali in performance, which is बहुत कठिन है डगरपन खटकी. I'm sure you've heard it. It's such a famous qawwali. तो उसका जो एक philosophical meaning है, वो तो कुछ और ही किसी और level पे चल रहा है. वो it's a very spiritual idea, and So I mean, I didn't even want to get into that with this audience that I was with at a college, like I mentioned. But I said, it really disturbs me when a very happening young Bollywood actor is dancing in a very sort of a evocative way to this phrase. And it's been reversioned into some other music. But she's going on dancing to Bahut Kathin Hai Dagarpan Ghatki Bahut. So when I asked them, I said, have you heard this? Bahut Kathin Hai Dagarpan Ghatki. So they were all like, super thrilled. So I like to provoke them also. So depending on what the audience is, So they were also a bit sort of shaken when I told them.
But, coming from a classical background and you effortlessly sing in the popular space, is it worth offending purists to reach a wider audience?
See, the thing is that I'm very clear that what is my journey, what is my goal. And of course, in the process, people get, people do raise questions, like, iska kya matlab hai? Why are you doing this? Or, why would you sing a film song? But I really feel that in my mind, there are no hierarchies. I don't have
music
hierarchies.
Is just music.
Music is something that I should enjoy. If I'm singing, then I bloody well enjoy it. Otherwise, I shouldn't do it. So, too bad. My deep apologies to all those people I've offended.
Delhi is lucky to have, we by and large are very cultured and educated audiences. So, but yes, imagine, when you open yourself to a wide spectrum, there's sometimes even unappreciative audiences. As a woman singer, have you ever faced an audience like that?
Yeah, actually a fair bit, and increasingly so. So I think in the post-COVID situation, there has been this weird, like, kya bolo usko halkapan, like there's a lot of...
I would think the ulta would have happened.
No, there's a lot of programming that is going on, Yasmin, but I think the nature of what people expect, especially organizers, they have this very sort of they have this... क्या बोलूं उसको, they have a preconceived idea कि यही चलेगा और ये नहीं चलेगा. तो जो चलेगा उसमें मतलब झमझम चाहिए, जो नहीं चलेगा, like there are organizers, मैम slow boring वाला मत करना आप. They would come and say things like that to me. Or if I am starting out with something a little classical, before I get into 15 minutes of the show, they'll pass a slip to say, हमारी अटरिया गा दीजिए, So there's a lot of that which is happening now, which I feel is a bit sad because it's a very, it's limiting that space. और एक फायदा ये है when you have such a rich cultured audience, that there are enough people for everything, when we did something recently on कुछ शायरों पे हमने कुछ किया था अभी कार्यक्रम. What a massive audience we had. It was absolutely like no place even in the aisles. So there's audience for everything. So I think patrons and organizers have to come around. There are not too many people like you, for example, who would understand that, you don't only have to keep doing a certain kind of music to get audiences. I think it's also, you would understand this, it's also the organizers or the curators. A curatorial thought would be very useful, I feel.
I once had somebody pass me a note when Tawfiq Qureshi was performing.
Okay.
And you won't believe what the note said.
Huh?
When will he start singing?
Arey wow, lovely.
I died. I was like, oh my God, somebody from the... I was like, I do not know what to say. But speaking of women in the performing space, I understand you researched the Tawaif musical tradition extensively and have come up with 2 projects, Women on Record and Jalsa, Indian Women's Journey from the Salon to the studio, right, about women taking to technology in the early 19th century with the coming of the gramophone. What drew your interest to this?
2 things. I think because when I was in the development sector, gender was a thing that I was very engaged with. So that is an intersection that interests me. But then I also got introduced to this, the music of the Baijis, who sang in the gramophone era, through a gentleman in Delhi only, Mr. Pran Neville. And IIC, यहाँ दिल्ली का जो मशहूर एक वेन्यू है, इंडिया इंटरनेशनल सेंटर में मेरा कुछ और प्रोग्राम था, तब मुझे आके 2 कैसेट्स दिए गए, और जबकि कैसेट का ज़माना ख़त्म हो चुका था तब, फिर भी मुझे कैसेट्स दिए गए और कहा गया कि ये होता है असली गाना, तो मैंने कहा होगा, मैंने भी असली गाना गाया, तो खैर बहुत दिनों तक मैंने वो कैसेट्स पे हाथ भी नहीं लगाया, ये सोचते हुए कि ये क्या हुआ असली गाना, मुझे नहीं पता असली गाना। I had this sort of chip on my shoulder, and then फिर एक बार ये हुआ कि कुछ स्प्रिंग क्लीनिंग में मैंने कहा अच्छा चलो सुन डालते हैं इसको, है क्या। बट what was really interesting, Yasmin, were the sleeve notes. ऐसे हैंड रिटन इन फॉन्ट साइज 5 or something, and I had to really like कि है क्या। तो उसमें बड़े सारे मुझे नाम दिखे पहली बार, जोहराबाई आगरे वाली, फिर गौहर जान भी थी, फिर कोई सुंदराबाई, मैंने कहा ये कौन है, एंड दे वर आल्सो सिंगिंग सम ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट, like I heard Mere To Girdhar Gopal, which became so famous when MS Subbulakshmi sang it, but of course it's a very popular मीरा का भजन, वो भी था, और फिर मुफ्त हुए बदनाम सजनवा तेरे लिए कोई एकदम चलती फिरती गजल भी थी। So I got very curious, मैंने कहा ये क्या है, and then my first experience was like, my God, it's unbearable, the sound quality, because they were all non-digitized, जो पहले होती थी ना 78 RPMs, उसकी recordings थी सारी। Anyway, I suffered through it all, and then I got really curious कि भैया कौन है ये सब। And I think what really got me on this journey of women on record is that I could find their music, but I didn't know who they were. I couldn't find out who they were. So that's how I even came up with the title, Women Who Sang on the Gramophone Record. But also to put these women on record, कि भैया ये भी कोई थी, and they have contributed to, हम लोग कहते रहते हैं वो इंडियन म्यूजिक को, शास्त्रीय संगीत, but many people have contributed, and some people have just been left out of the mainstream discourse. So yeah,
it is fascinating how women adapted to technology and how it liberated them.
Yeah, I mean it did many things actually. First of all, हम लोग तो इतना in India tradition मतलब उसको कहीं उठा के रख देना है और उसकी पूजा करनी है. We have this tendency, तो संगीत का भी यही था. तो जो उस्ताद थे और जो बड़े बड़े विद्वान लोग थे, उनको लगा कोई मशीन में कौन गाएगा, और जब शुरू में जब ये मशीन आई थी तो एक वैक्स ऑन होता था, तो उसमें सर दे के गाना पड़ता था.
अच्छा.
तो जो वैक्स था उसमें जो आपकी आवाज है, इट वुड गेट एम्बेडेड ऑन दैट वैक्स, and then it would be taken to other record manufacturing places. And in the first 4-5 years, when we didn't have our own manufacturing, it would be taken to places like Hanover in Germany, but it was the beginning of the music market. लोगों का पहली बार इस बात से राब्ता हुआ कि गाना जो है खरीदा भी जा सकता है,
And the women took to it when, they adapted when it was kind of shunned by the gurus and ustads.
तो उस्तादों का ये था कि ये तो हमारी पुश्तैनी चीजें हैं, हमने कितने सालों से, और उस्तादों में भी ये होता था कि सबसे पहले अपने बेटे को सिखाते थे वो, अच्छा बेटा नहीं है तो फिर दामाद को सिखाते थे, औरतों को कभी नहीं सिखाया जाता था. So mainly the women who came into the musical space were these tawaifs, were the baijis who were literally socialized into entertaining people, trained. तो उनका ये था कि हम अपना गाना नहीं बेचेंगे मशीन में, वो भी गला देके, फिर ये भी था कि कहीं गला उसमें खो ना जाए. You know, it's an electronic contraption. What if I lose my voice to it? So they were genuinely nervous. But the women were already business women, you know. They had this sense of enterprise. So they were like, chalo yaar, ye bhi dekh lete hain.
Yeah, it's always worth taking the risk for women, I think, because they have nothing to lose. But you know, the opening up of technology kind of made it easier for women to perform. And that's kind of true even today. Na? Technology even today makes it just easier for women to come across and, or relatively easier to come across and, you know, speak the
I mean, technology definitely did a good thing in that sense. बट जो ट्रेडिशनल गाने वालियां थी दे सफर्ड बिकॉज ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी. तो शुरू तो ये हुआ कि दे वर ऑल रिकॉर्डिंग, सम ऑफ देम बिकेम लाइक, वी ऑल नो अबाउट गौहर जान वाज लाइक द स्टार ऑफ दैट टाइम. फिर काफी थी ऐसे who became stars and they made enough money. Then people started realizing, particularly men, they started realizing the anonymity of it, you know, कि not just the anonymity, the fact that it's a democratic space. आप गाइए और आपकी आवाज दूर दूर तक जा रही है, you know. So then men started recording, and then a lot of women who came from quote unquote respectable families, they felt अच्छा शक्ल ही नहीं दिख रही है तो गा सकते हैं हम भी फिर, you know. तो in the process ये हुआ कि ये तो सब गाने वाली हैं, इनको थोड़ा सा, I mean there were many political things also which were happening. It was the time of the nationalist movement. तो वो सब के चलते these women started getting sidelined, you know.
How did you discover all these stories, and however these stories lost the entire role of women in the development of the recording industry and has just been erased from all history?
Yeah, I mean, there's very limited actually information. How did I was a professional beggar for a few years. I went around asking, you know, I mean, I sort of created my own networks for information. And when I started this project around 2010, there were still some people who had first-hand references, you know. They had, you know, women who were in their 90s, for example, and men who had these kind of mehfils in their homes. तो जैसे लखनऊ में हमें कई लोग मिले जिन्होंने कहा कि यहाँ पे ये गाने आती थी या यहाँ इनका नाच होता था. फिर कलकत्ते में बड़ी सारी ऐसे जगह थी, यू नो, बाड़ियाँ थी, जमींदारों की बाड़ियों में अक्सर हुआ करती थी. तो दुर्गा पूजा पे तो जो खासी खाते पीते जो जमींदार लोग थे उनके यहाँ तो 9 दिन होता था इस तरह का. तो उसमें भाइयों को बुलाना उनकी शान के, इट वाज सॉर्ट ऑफ एन इंडिकेशन ऑफ देयर स्टैचर इन सोसाइटी. But when we started traveling to these places and talking to people, there was so much denial, you know. शुरू में कई लोग कहते थे नहीं ये तो बिल्कुल हमारे यहाँ तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं हो सकता इस तरह से कि ये आई हो और इन्होंने गाया हो. So there was a lot of resistance, there was a lot of denial. पर कुछ जैसे पुराने एक मुझे मिले थे कलकत्ते में, उनका नाम था घंटी बाबू. तो he was in his late 80s then. ऐसा होता है ना कि आपके मन में आपने इतनी चीजें दबा के रखी हुई हैं और आपको कभी मौका ही नहीं मिला कि आप उनके बारे में बात करें, बिकॉज इट वाज नॉट कंसिडर्ड द राइट थिंग टू डू. पर सामने से कोई आपसे आके जब पूछता है, आई सॉ अ फोटोग्राफ ऑफ अ वुमन हु sang well into the 70s and she was based there and she would sing ghazal, but she was also singing, you know, music of Bengal like Nazrul Geeti, Ramdasi Geeti and so on. मैंने कहा अरे ये तो कमला जारिया है. तो Yasmin, you won't believe it, that man who was just otherwise this really stiff caretaker of this body walking us around, he suddenly melted, you know. And the way he let us into a world of stories. So I guess people also know that you're genuinely interested, you know. So I suppose
and the stories are safe with you, I guess.
Yeah, many such stories. When I sang in Dhaka, I sang, you know, वहाँ पे एक थी फिरोजा बेगम. तो उन्होंने रिकॉर्ड पे फैज साहब का एक बहुत खूबसूरत कलाम गाया है कि रंग पहरान का खुशबू जुल्फ लहराने का नाम. बहुत सुंदर चीज है. तो मैंने वो गा दिया. तो एक जनाब आए at the end of the concert and he was like, you know, he was teary eyed, he was very moved. मैं तो बड़ी खुश थी. मैंने कहा क्या गाया मैंने, क्या आंसू निकल रहे. So I went and met him and he said, I'm Firoza Begum's brother. You know, so ऐसे किस्से जो हैं, it's mind blowing. I can't even tell you how how enriching it has been for me,
For you.
actually.
And how long did it take you to put this together?
It's actually something which will be ongoing. मतलब
Okay. And how
5
is it
साल तो मुझे वो
available?
किताब लिखने में ही लग गए, जलसा लिखने में,
Hmm.
because there's so much information.
And this is available in bookshops, you know?
Yeah, it's available online. It's I mean, we actually finished one lot, so we have brought it back into the market.
Okay.
And I'm also actually in the process of finishing my second book, which is a collection of essays, which is not just looking at the courtesans and the gramophone, but also looking at their interventions in theatre and the talkies.
Oh, how lovely. Okay.
So 30 के दशक में, you know, when sound comes to film, the whole talkies and how that becomes the basis of what we celebrate as Bollywood music today.
And you know, the gramophone also democratized it for the audiences. Now, I believe
Absolutely.
people would come together and sit in groups, and you know, and this was the first time it could, you know, go beyond the mehfils of the rich.
Correct.
You know, people had access to it.
बिल्कुल. ग्रामोफोन की सवारीज हुआ करती थी, मतलब लिटरली लाइक ग्रामोफोन की महफिल है कि गांव में भी जैसे कोई यू नो
तो खरीदता मतलब it would belong to the village.
So yeah, it would normally belong to some rich person in the village. Typically, in fact, there was a delightful film. I'm not sure which decade, but it was called Mirch Masala. I don't know if you've seen Ketan Mehta.
Yes.
तो उसमें Nasiruddin Shah, I think, plays a subedar or something, you know, and he's like this really corrupt, sleazy guy. And so there's a scene where he introduces the gramophone to gaon ke log. It's so reflective of what it must have been. You know, they're all walking around it and wondering kahan se nikal ke aa rahi hai awaaz. Or it was also that machine, I think, which had that, you know,
the winding up kind of thing. So, you know, it's you know, what I like now, you're talking about how the digital space does open our music. Even now, there are so many more interesting things which are happening. And I love what you're doing with William Dalrymple. You know, where he reads from his book and you come. I you know, I really wish more such things can happen. And now, before we go with that, can I please request you to sing a few lines?
That's a googly. Okay. Right. उसी गालिब की 2 लाइनें सुना ना आप?
प्लीज. दिल्ली मतलब दिल्ली के बारे में शो है तो गालिब की लाइनें तो बनती है.
तो ये बेगम अख्तर की गाई हुई चीज है, और जो मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले शेर का जिक्र किया था, उसी गजल से आपको कुछ अशार सुनाती हूँ कि दिल ही तो है न संगो खिश्त, दर्द से भर न आए क्यों. दिल ही तो है न संगो खिश्त, दर्द से भर न आए क्यों. रोएंगे हम 1000 बार, कोई हमें सताए क्यों. दिल ही तो है न संगो खिश्त, गालिब खस्ता के बगैर कौन से काम बंद है. रोइए जार जार क्या कीजिए हाय हाय क्यों. बैठे हैं रह गुजर पे हम, कोई हमें उठाए क्यों.
I have goosebumps. That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. Thank you, Vidya. I mean, to you, I feel I can go on and on and on talking. And just, I mean, here's to more music in Delhi and to more of us enjoying it and more of us getting access to your music and all kinds of music.
Sure,
Thank you so
I'm
much.
happy with that. Thank you very much for inviting me. I mean, I think it's a great series, and as a somewhat Delhi wali, I'm so happy to have been a part of it. Thanks a lot, yeah.
Thank you, Vidya. I feel like we could go on and on. I hope through efforts like yours, more and more people have access to music, to loving it, to enjoying it, and to learning it. Thank you so much. Join us next time as we explore Delhi's hidden gems, people, places, and stories on Delhi Love, Ishq, Mohabbat, Pyar. I'm Yasmin Kidwai. Until next time.